And again, the rehearsals that still go on, so it might be loud from time to time, but we want to welcome former Senator Bob Graham, whose extensive resume includes Florida governor. He's the former chair of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. He co-chaired the 9/11 Commission. He's also out with a new book called America, the Owner's Manual. Senator Graham, thank you very much for being with us.
Good. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Let me first talk about national security issues, and then I want to touch on the comments of Donald Trump. But how big of an issue will they be in this general election?
I think foreign policy and national security will be increasingly important issues as this election proceeds. I think what we have seen in the last few weeks, which has been almost weekly acts of extreme violence, which has been traced to terrorist organizations, has no indication that it's going to slow down. In fact, I think it could become even more as the terrorists see this as something that they can do which will influence the outcome of American politics.
The comments of Donald Trump, we'll hear in just a moment what he said about the DNC email and Russia's involvement. I want to share with you the statement from Jake Sullivan. He is the spokesperson for the Hillary Clinton campaign, and it reads, quote, "This has to be the first time that a major presidential candidate has actively encouraged a foreign power to conduct espionage against his political opponent. That's not hyperbole. Those are just the facts. This has gone from being a matter of curiosity and a matter of politics to being a national security issue." Senator Graham, your thoughts?
I would agree with those statements. It's amazing that a candidate for a major political party in America would make a statement which on its face says, encourages people to engage in an illegal activity, hacking, and at sites, which would be a felony as an act of espionage against the United States government, with the principal beneficiary being a country with which we have had very unstable, troubled relations in recent years. It's just almost incredible that a presidential candidate would show that level of immaturity.
Donald Trump, by the way, is in Scranton, Pennsylvania. His event has not yet gotten underway. It's supposed to start momentarily. If you're interested, you can watch it live on C-SPAN 2. Senator Graham, do you think Donald Trump is ready to be commander-in-chief?
No, I don't believe he is ready to be commander-in-chief or any of the other titles that flow from the ultimate title of President of the United States of America. I can't think of a candidate who's been nominated in modern American political history with as few credentials to occupy the office.
Let me ask you about your new book. It's called America, the Owner's Manual. What's this all about?
I believe one of the things that this election has demonstrated is that there are an awful lot of Americans who feel disengaged. They feel as if government is the enemy. In my opinion, one of the reasons for that is that we haven't taught much civics since the 1970s, so many Americans don't know the basics of their government, and even less have we taught what it means to be a citizen in a democracy. This book, entitled America, the Owner's Manual, is a guide to effective citizenship. It's based around the fundamental skills such as how do you state the problem, research the problem, how do you determine who has the power to solve your problem, how do you approach that person. Each one of those and several other chapters begin with a case study of how a citizen used that skill in order to accomplish an important outcome that made their community, their school, their nation a better place. I think this is part of providing Americans with the ammunition that they need to prepare themselves to be effective citizens. And I think as an effective citizen, you're more likely to be a voting citizen and a citizen who appreciates the role of government, including the limitations of government.
But as you well know, Senator Graham, there's a lot of disillusionment towards government, towards institutions in general, people in this campaign, and one of the reasons why Donald Trump has been doing so well, they're frustrated with political parties and they're frustrated with Congress.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is an election that goes back to that movie where the frustrated, angry man threw open the window and shouted out, "I'm mad as hell and not going to take it anymore." I believe that many of the votes that particularly Mr. Trump got during the primaries were essentially protest votes against the status quo rather than votes for him personally or policies that he had projected. And it is critical in a democracy that we have citizens who understand what their rights and responsibilities are as citizens and who exercise those rights. We cannot have an American democracy if people think they can do it as spectators sitting in the stands and criticizing the people on the field.
But what would you tell those people who may be watching at home, not really interested in getting involved in politics? How do you motivate them? How do you get them involved, at the very least, to vote in November, regardless of who they vote for?
Well, obviously it's important to vote because that's the way individual citizens help set the direction for their government. And there hasn't been a presidential election in recent years where that choice is starker than it's going to be in November of 2016. But I think in many ways more important is that people get personally involved. And they do it by generally identifying a problem in their neighborhood. Maybe the school board has changed the boundaries of schools in a way that you think is inappropriate and disadvantageous to your child. Maybe it is that the library shuts down at 8 o'clock at night and you think it should stay open later. Those kind of fundamental actions of government that affect your everyday life. Those are the kind of things that people need to have an understanding of. How do you go about making change in an appropriate, nonviolent way, using your skills to enhance your opportunities for participation in our democracy.
I know you have the book in your hand. You can show it to our camera, America, the Owner's Manual. You can fight City Hall and win. Let's talk about Florida, because as Tim Russert said back in 2000, it's Florida, 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 a key role in the election of George W. Bush. How important will it be in 2016, and what will we see in the Sunshine State?
Florida is the largest, in terms of electoral vote, swing state in the country. Last two elections, it has voted for Barack Obama. The two elections prior to that for George Bush, all of those elections being close and closely contested. I suspect the same thing is going to be true in 2016. There are several things that are affecting Florida. One, the demographics of the state are becoming more Hispanic, and particularly more Hispanic from Puerto Rico, which is important in part because Puerto Ricans are U.S. citizens and they are immediately eligible to participate in vote. So those who have arrived in the recent past will be at the polls in November of this year, influencing the outcome.
There's a key Senate race with Marco Rubio initially saying he was only going to serve one term. He's now running for a second term. Handicap that race as somebody who knows a lot about Florida politics.
I think anybody would have to say that Marco is currently the favorite to retain his seat. He is a very charismatic, popular figure, received a great deal of attention during the presidential primaries. Marco has some issues relative to his reelection. The issue of immigration is going to be a big one in Florida, and he will have to explain the variations of positions that he's taken and what he would do should he be reelected to the Senate. I think the Democrats are going to have a contested primary. The candidate who seems to be ahead at this point is Patrick Murphy, a young, exciting Democratic candidate. And, it'll be a very good contest for the U.S. Senate in Florida this year.
Do you miss all of this now that you're retired?
Well, my wife says I failed at retirement, that I haven't slowed down, and I think she's right. And frankly, I hope she's always right, because I don't want to sit on the couch. I've been spending a lot of my time recently trying to get the information from 9/11 that has been withheld for more than a decade, made available to the American people so that they can form their own opinion as to whether the hijackers acted alone or whether they had a support network that made it possible for them to carry out such a sophisticated attack. Some of that information was released just within the last couple of weeks. There are thousands of more pages of documents that have been censored, which are yet to be made available to the American people.
An issue that we will have you back on this network to talk in greater detail. Senator Graham, former governor, former chair of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, and the co-chair of the 9/11 Commission. Thanks very much for stopping by here on C-SPAN. We appreciate it.
Thank you.